DashPass customers were canceling their subscription. And when we ran an experiment that at the point of cancellation, we would show them the various perks and the actual value that they're getting through DoorDash. For example, if you're ordering more than about 3 orders per month, you're already recouping the subscription fee, which is about $10. By running this experiment, we found that this saved thousands of DashPass subscriptions per week.
Welcome to the Experimentation Edge, where product managers, data scientists, and engineers talk about how they make smarter decisions. I'm Ashley Stirrup, the Chief Marketing Officer for GrowthBook, and in each episode, I'll sit down with an executive to unpack how they use experimentation and A/B testing to make better decisions. This show is sponsored by GrowthBook, the open source experimentation platform leader. Now let's jump in and get started with our next guest. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Experimentation Edge. We have Ilya Izraelevsky, who is the Senior Engineering Manager at DoorDash, and he's leading the experimentation platform there. He brings with him a rich experience across a wide range of companies, including Amazon, Robinhood, Uber, Intuit, and PayPal. So welcome to the show, Ilya.
Thank you, Ashley. Really glad to be here. I love experimentation and really excited to share my experiences and making sure that folks listening will learn something new.
I'm really excited to have you on, and we both share a passion for experimentation, so that's a great start. You've lived on both sides of the fence. You've owned the engineering for the experimentation platform, and then you've run engineering for products that use the experimentation platform. Do you have some examples of lessons learned as a user of the platform versus owning the platform?
Yeah, definitely. So again, I'm Ilya. I'm currently leading DoorDash's experimentation platform across both engineering and science, and partner very closely with product engineering teams and analytics folks. But yes, my background has been in both building experimentation systems. For example, at Intuit, we built our experimentation system from scratch. It was a dozen years ago. And then I led an effort to open source it. So it was one of the early stage experimentation platforms available as an open source project. And then I led experimentation platform at Robinhood and now at DoorDash. But then I also built data-driven systems, for example, owning search companies such as Uber and Amazon search, and also working on recommendation personalization systems at Intuit, and also I owned internationalization efforts at PayPal, earlier days of PayPal. But no matter, I've been either building experimentation system or using them. What I found is experimentation is super critical to make sure that you build the best product possible, and you try with tests rather than building this minimal viable products, and making sure that what you're building is actually satisfying customer needs.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think in today's age of AI, where it's easier and easier to develop products, what's going to differentiate people is not how many features they have, but how excellent the features are that really matter to users.
Yes, absolutely. So this is why, for example, at Amazon, when I was leading their machine learning automation for their main customer and e-commerce site search, we needed to make sure that customers actually find what they're looking for if they're searching for some specific types of products through Amazon's mobile or web experiences. And behind the scenes, there's so much going on. You're literally going from billions of products that are in the Amazon's catalog down to 10 to 20 of products that Amazon's customers actually see. And there are many machine learning models that run in the background every time you do a search query, including matching and ranking models. And we needed to run tons of experiments to make sure that those types of models are delivering the right set of products that customers are looking for. So, for example, optimizing for things such as brand diversity, so that people see results from different types of brands, or price differentiation. It could be cheaper products or more expensive products that could be of higher quality, or fast shipping speed. Sure that customers receive their product on time. Or, going through so many different products and narrowing down to just 10 to 15 to 20 that people actually looking for. There you need to run many experiments, make sure that they're successful and we're delivering customer impact. So what I learned is it's not just about the experiment. Customer impact is what really matters. And experimentation is just a vehicle to enable you to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, boy, I'm just struck as you tell that story about the scale of the challenge there. Because, there's so many different dimensions that you would want to experiment on and try to understand, does variety of brands matter more, or, what are the different levers you might pull? And so I would imagine
Exactly.
it's a very,
It's a multi-dimension optimization. So you're looking at different types of metrics, and you're trying to see the experiments that you are running, are they satisfying these various needs, and you need to balance them. So many times it's not just about one magic metric that you're going after. There are many different metrics that you need to take on account, as well as looking at your guardrail metrics to make sure you're not degrading those as in the meantime.
yeah. And so I would guess that was a very cross-functional effort where you had a wide variety of people that had opinions on how to optimize search.
100%. So while my team was mostly machine learning engineers focused building machine learning models, but our larger org was mostly data science focused. So folks with data and science experience looking at various types of models, understanding customer patterns of what Amazon's customers are looking for, and what they're interested in finding, and optimizing for different types of customers who are maybe just registering with Amazon, or power users that are looking for many different types of products. So yeah, and working with product managers and engineering. So yeah, many different, let's say, stakeholders in place, but
Yes.
experimentation is a vehicle to kind of bring everybody together. You say, yeah, we can have a lot of opinions, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we think. What matters
Yeah.
is what our customers usually do, their behavior.
Yeah. And what was your win rate? Do you remember?
At Amazon, it was something like in the range of about 25 to 30%. You can imagine that you run a lot of different experiments, but you need to really look at different arms. So it's not
Yes.
like A/B test. It would be tests that run across multiple model candidates.
Right.
And you're looking at different ones at the same time. And by the way, we also did what's called a lot of offline experimentation. You, for example, doing sampling of different types of queries that Amazon's customers run, and then generating sample and golden data sets of products for a given query. And then you're going, let's say, from hundreds of machine learning model candidates down to maybe 10 that are performing the best, and those 10 you would run with online experiments and testing with real customers. So yes, there's a lot of going on, kind of both offline training and evaluation, and then online experimentation with real customers.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like I can see how that helps like go from an infinite number of options to okay, we've made sure that we're not breaking vacuum cleaners or I don't know, dog food or whatever it might be,
Yes.
right? But we're actually getting a better and better model over time. So that's terrific.
Exactly, and there are many different categories on Amazon, right? You're looking at books, retail products, electronics, household items, and so many kind
Yes.
of non-perishable item, but different categories. You need to run actually separate experiments. Make sure that you're focusing on specific types of categories and providing the best results for those categories because they vary widely.
Yes, that makes total sense. Well, now let's turn a little bit to DoorDash. I'd love to hear about the experimentation program there and how it's evolving.
Yes, definitely. So DoorDash is different. That we're focusing on your local businesses and kind of your mom and pop shops, as well as just businesses that are around you, including restaurants and grocery stores and electronics. Nowadays, you can, for example, buy a TV through DoorDash from Best Buy. But we run our experimentation at scale. We've had our experimentation platform that we've been building in the last about 5 to 6 years. We run over, let's say, 12,000 experiments per year, over 42 million monthly active users on DoorDash's platform. At peak, we range something like 300 million evaluations of experiments with feature flags per second. So our scale is very, very, very large. But what makes DoorDash unique is it's a very operations driven and data driven company. So everything we do at the end of the day is about the customer. Are you getting your delivery of your lunch that you ordered on time with high quality? Make sure we don't deliver food cold to you, and also making sure that you can get your lunch on time so you're ready for your next meeting that can be coming up. But the way it's enforced is that, for example, after we run an experiment, no matter the results, whether ship or no ship, we would send the results out across the company and have a discussion about those experiments. So for example, even our leadership, including our CEO Tony, would read and reply to those experiment emails and would congratulate folks, but also encourage them to try some alternative ways or approaches to the same problem. So this really builds a culture that experimentation is encouraged, and everything we do should be through experimentation.
Yeah, boy, that's fascinating. Yeah, I'm definitely starting to notice a pattern that the the strongest experimentation programs have the CEO actually reading the results of experiments, which I think at other companies, it's probably several layers from the CEO is about the top of when it's actually getting, who it's getting shared with.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
being there in the details for somebody like a CEO really encourages the rest of the company to be also in the weeds and understand what we're building, what types of features we're building, and what we're experimenting with.
yeah.
Definitely.
And how would you describe the model? Like how much is centralized versus, how much is each individual team empowered to do experimentation? Do they have data scientists in the various groups, or is that centralized?
Yes. So in terms of our model, we do have the central experimentation platform, which I lead, but then I partner very closely with our analytics group, which is centralized, but then their data sciences are embedded with the product teams, with engineering, product managers, for folks like that, to make sure we run successful experiments. But now we're actually working what's called democratization. We want to make sure that we can go beyond engineers setting up and instrumenting experiments with their mobile code or web or backend type of experiments. And then data scientists, analytics, analyzing results. We'd like to get to a point where folks without a PhD in statistics should be able to set up and run experiments and actually learn from them, right? So we're focusing on product managers and user interface designers, advertisers, marketers, business operations folks as we're launching in new countries and new regions to be able to run their own experiments and understand, analyze results. Of course, it's more difficult than it sounds because there's a lot going on in order to run successful experiments. So we're working closely with the analytics partners to set up what's called a very opinionated experiment templates, where we embed, for example, success and guardrail metrics so that experiments can be run very, very quickly. And also our longer term focus is to even go beyond our company-wide experimentation runs to merchants such as restaurant or store owners. Would like them to be able to run their own experiments, for example, on various promotions that they're running or prices of the menu items that they're showing to customers, so that they can attract more customers to their local stores. And this would be a win-win-win across the board because customers will have more selection across their menu items and prices and inventory of stock that grocery stores, for example, hold. And it would benefit dashers and couriers who deliver that because they'll have orders, and also benefit DoorDash as a company as a whole because we'll have more orders to deliver. So it's all about the ecosystem, how we can empower the entire ecosystem through experimentation.
I love that, and that's a great example of innovation. Like I've heard a lot of companies talk about wanting to democratize experimentation internally, but it's the first time I've heard about. I'm not sure if they're customers, but maybe your partners. How do you enable your partners to do experimentation too? And that sounds very powerful.
Definitely, yeah,
Uh,
because we are at the end of the day marketplace, so we connect local businesses to 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 customers, to local individuals, and dashers who deliver them. For us, it's all about enabling all the various parts of this ecosystem.
yeah, yeah. So can you tell us about an experiment or two where you had a lot of learnings?
Definitely. Let me tell you about a couple experiments. Maybe one of them that we ended up shipping, and the other one that did not ship. But at the end of the day, what I learned is there's no such thing as a failed experiment. Every experiment is a learning opportunity, no matter how it goes. Right? It's just the ones that you don't ship, maybe you kill, but the ones that ship or you need to iterate on, you should continue iterating. One experiment was about DashPass subscribers, equivalent of Amazon Prime customers. We have a program that encourages people to uh, to order through us, and we give, for example, delivery fee discounts, various promotions, faster shipping speeds, and we add in other perks such as, for example, streaming services subscriptions as well. But at one point, we experienced a lot of churn where DashPass customers were canceling their subscription. And when we looked deeper and we actually ran an experiment that at the point of cancellation, we would show them the various perks and the actual value that they're getting from through DoorDash. So, matter of fact, if, for example, if you're ordering more than about 3 orders per month, you're already recouping the subscription fee, which is about $10 per month. So it's not a big fee to actually invest in being a DashPass subscriber. But and by running this experiment, we found that they saved thousands of DashPass subscriptions per week. But not only that, we really found that we need to be proactive in messaging, showing the value of DashPass throughout the experience at DoorDash. So, for example, during the checkout flow, the confirmation time, during the monthly recap of your orders and things like that. So, kind of keep restating the value. And right now, it became a whole product area. We call it DashPass, where we proactively are focusing on subscribers.
Yeah, I love that story. So basically, you started off running an experiment to learn more about how you stopped cancellations of DashPass. And then it led to the learning that, boy, our customers don't realize how much value they're getting here. And then that led to a whole basically new product area for you where you were constantly educating your customers. That's a great example of how experimentation learning can lead to changes in product strategy.
Definitely, it became a whole product area, and we have a separate roadmap for it. And it's a whole area that we're proactively focusing on. Another experiment that did not ship, but what it was as valuable, was that we, as we're launching in new, it's called verticals, new product areas, going to beyond restaurants, such as grocery stores, electronics, or retail. And at point, we ran an experiment where we said, well, if we're going beyond the default 11-mile radius, if we go beyond that, this should increase the selection and also should lead to more orders that we get from those stores. But what we found is that while this worked for some new vertical areas, for example, grocery stores, but it really did not work. And we actually decreased our order volume and order rate. And overall, this introduced more noise and higher delivery fees for retail, for clothing type of orders. And we ended up kind of killing that. And what we learned that is one size really does not fit all. You have to really look at different types of verticals and understand the customer behavior. And this resulted in us being more careful in how we approach experimentation, and really distinguishing and understanding customer behavior for grocery stores versus electronic orders versus clothing and retail.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I could see that as a customer, I probably want food from maybe 5 miles away or closer, and I don't want to have my experience cluttered with a bunch of options that are too far away and the food's going to be too cold when it gets here. Versus if I'm going to order a new TV and I don't want to drive, 20 minutes away or 30 minutes away to go get a new TV, and I can order it on DoorDash, that's fine. I'm willing to wait that extra time. There's not the same level of urgency.
Exactly. So, but yeah, for example, if you're buying a t-shirt, you're probably not for something $20. You're not willing to pay like a higher delivery fee just to get that maybe cheaper t-shirt. So yeah, exactly. It really depends on the type of product that you're looking for and how much you're willing to pay and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems like an area where experimentation is particularly powerful, is understanding in a category by category, how do you dial in what's the right delivery
And
range?
and our intuition might not work by default, because it's really important to just test it and see what
Yeah.
works and what doesn't.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like I would imagine that at a lot of companies that aren't as experimentation centric, they'd think, oh, well, I can just figure this out. I can just guess at what the right range is. But you could probably significantly outperform that by doing experimentation and getting real data.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and your maybe default intuition tells you, well, if I just have more and more stores around me, I'll have more selection, and I should be able to just get more things, more orders. But reality is that it's better to focus on like your local stores, providing the best selection across those and the best value customers, rather than going very very far and getting into that more noise.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So do you have, very clear kind of North Star or overall evaluation criteria metrics at DoorDash that you've kind of all aligned on?
Yeah, so again, because we're a marketplace, a three-dimensional marketplace, we don't have one magic number or metric that we're going after, because again, we need to balance between consumers, dashers, and our merchants. But we are focusing for specific apps that we support on different types of metrics. So for example, for our main DoorDash consumer app, we're focusing on quality, reliability of orders that they're getting, as well as overall customer satisfaction and retention. While on dashers and couriers, we're focusing on their earnings and their utilization, making sure that they're not sitting idle and in the car waiting for the next order. And we're focusing on fairness, so distributing orders across those dashers. And then on the merchant side, we're focusing on order mix and making sure that they're getting orders across their menus and inventory, so that they don't stock up on just like one specific item. Yeah, so it ends up depleting their inventory, as well as kind of unit economics, right? For example, for grocery stores, how much they should be investing versus how much they're getting, and overall longevity of your local stores, right? So it's not just about like weeks orders or monthly orders or quarterlies. For the long term, are they able to grow their business by partnering with DoorDash? So, and when we run experiments, it's not just about this one success metric. We have many different guardrail metrics that protect the rest of the ecosystem, make sure that you're not degrading them.
Yeah. Boy, that's very partner centric of you to be thinking about not only how do I kind of maximize today for the local vendors in this particular area, but how do I help make sure they've got a long term successful business? It's also really interesting making sure that they're getting a good mix. Like you could easily see somebody think, oh, well, as long as they're buying, I don't care if they're all buying the same thing. But yeah, if that particular vendor, they run out of that and then they're not selling anything. That's not a good outcome for them. So,
Yes, exactly. So it's a classic search problem, exploit versus explore, right? So you should exploit, things that customers already ordered, but you also want to show them maybe new things, kind of letting them explore new things that they can look at them and maybe start ordering.
yeah. And as we wrap up here, how do you see experimentation at DoorDash evolving?
Definitely, as we're scaling experimentation, we're going into kind of multi-dimensional scale. So on one side, as I mentioned, we're focusing on democratization, right? Making sure that folks throughout the company will be able to run their own experiments and learn from them very, very quickly. So removing the friction of experimentation. The other dimension is kind of global scale, right? So we're acquiring companies around the world, including Bold, based in Finland, and Deliveroo. Some are based in London, UK. And now we're based in over 40 plus different countries around the world. So really understanding kind of regions and marketplaces and behaviors of customers. And also, we're going into different verticals, as I mentioned, going beyond restaurants into grocery stores, deliveries, and electronics, retails. That introduces another dimension. And finally, last but not least, AI is a big factor right now. So with AI, we're able to ship a lot more features. Kind of the barrier to entry to build and test and launch a feature has been lowered. But then with more and more features coming, want to make sure that we experiment with them, and and those features provide customer value, and it's not just like garbage in, garbage out, right? So are we selecting the best features that actually benefit those customers? So we need to ensure that we scale experimentation with the AI powered growth, and we've been enabling experimentation for use cases such as looking at the institutional knowledge, kind of the past experiments that we already launched, and using AI to be able to mine those and see what worked, what didn't work, and use the past hypothesis to inform new hypotheses that should be launching. And then also, we're now adding agentic experiences throughout the experimentation lifecycle, right? So to be able to set up, run, analyze results on an experiment, debug any issues with experiments, where, for example, imbalance issues and things like that, as well as generating experiment summaries and readouts very quickly, the ones that I mentioned that we're sending out across the whole company. So really powering the experimentation lifecycle with AI.
Well, that's quite an ambitious future you have in front of you because so many different dimensions, right? Like new companies, new product lines, AI, more users, even your partners doing testing. That's pretty incredible. So where do you feel like there's the biggest opportunity within AI amongst all those different things? Is it more about scaling or trying to help people be smarter before they run the test? Or is it more about kind of using AI after the fact to really analyze the results?
I would say throughout the experimentation life cycle. So I really look at AI as an opportunity to get insights more quickly. For example, setting up your hypothesis. We used to just create documents describing an experiment. Right now, you can go through a agentic experience and type out your hypothesis, what you're trying to test, and then let it to help you set up the right type of experiment. Right? Would it be an
Yeah.
A/B test, multi-arm banded experiment, or if you're looking at search, it could be interleaving experiments, or we're doing what's called like region split experiments using difference in difference. So there are many different types of tests that we need to be running. So yeah, letting AI to help you while you're setting up experiment, but then also if you're having issues, many times for folks that are not kind of tech savvy, to help them find and actually resolve issues with their experiment. And then after they actually get their analysis results, to be able to look at those, p-values and the various things that are going on with your experiment results. What are you actually learning from this? What is the data telling you? You need to have a data scientist or analyst
Yeah.
I'll help you. But now with AI, it can assist you in understanding your experiment results. So
Yeah.
yeah, across the board, AI can help a lot.
Yeah, I think that you just did a great job of summarizing all the different opportunities for AI. One of the things I find the more and more I use AI is that it's just so much better than I am at consuming large amounts of information and processing it. If you can kind of take that concept and then overlay on top of it the expertise of like it knows what's best practices in data science, and you can kind of help provide an AI agent that can do both of those things, that's very powerful.
There's a human is always at the helm, right? So AI can help you to do a lot of research and give you insights, but at the end of the day, humans need to make calls and to prioritize, and for example, go or no go decisions and things like that. But definitely, I can, exactly as you're saying, you can crunch a lot of information and drill down into most important things.
Well, Ilya, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a incredibly insightful episode, kind of across the board. So I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much, Ashley, for organizing this. Yeah, this has been a pleasure. And yeah, I hope everyone learned something today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this conversation, please support our channel by hitting the like button and subscribing. Better yet, share the episode with a friend. I'm Ashley Stirrup with Growth Book. We'll see you next time on the Experimentation Edge.